Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of welcoming back to the According to Woods podcast. He is uh, a consummate mixed martial artist who has just recently competed in Fight to Win, the grappling competition, as well as a Sambo. He is the one, the only, Zachariah O'Malley. Zachariah, what's going on, my man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I mean, not as active as you, good sir, but I do okay.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to keep busy for sure, man.
Which it's the last time we were on. We were kind of talking about the pandemic and all this jazz and what have you. But you're one who kind of basically jumped in, at every opportunity that you could have, and basically made it your own. Just competing, twice in two different sports in the last week or
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Within 7 days, I competed in my first sanctioned Sambo match, and then Fight to Win, which I've done a few times before. And hopefully, they give me a call back this next weekend. I'm hoping to get some revenge, some hoping to avenge myself from that last loss because I did lose by submission last weekend.
Oof, I know, but I mean, that's a lot, right? I mean, just doing a fight to win, working yourself up to get to a fight to win. Which, funny enough, we had two guests of former guests of the According to Woods podcast and friends of the show, Sophia Rose Mignana and Whitney Marks out of
Mhm.
10 Planet Tucson. They basically competed, and I think this is the first time that two guests of the podcast had faced each other in any combat sports, which is kind of fun and weird.
Yeah, you guys never have anybody on like a three-way conversation where you have two opponents talk to each other, something
I've
like
done
that.
it. It just gets weird when people like start to trash talk and the thing can get off the rails and everything. So it's just like, ooh. And it's funny because Conor McGregor is, anytime that he is involved in combat sports, it gets people talking, right? People that may
Absolutely.
not even be in combat sports, right? And it's a lot of people are like, yeah, his style is amazing, right? He gets people interested and all that, whatever. No, it's a pro and con, right? Where, yes, it attracts a lot of people, a lot of interests, right? But then the traditional martial artists, they kind of falter, right? And might hate him because of the undue whatever. But here's the fact of the matter: this is an entertainment. You can sport all you want. The Olympics is going on right now, right? Hey, the International Olympic Committee, literally wanted to X off, and he's still the time the next Olympics roll around is going to exile and 86 wrestling, which is literally right from the origins of ancient Greece,
Yeah.
pancreation and what have you. But this just shows that, like, again, it's all about viewing. It's all about the garnering of interest. We live in a social media world. The amount of clicks a particular sport gets, and skateboard and whatever walk running is going to get way more clicks than wrestling, which I think is atrocious. But I'm just saying, so it's kind of like you kind of want to get people involved, but then the
Yeah.
way people get involved, it gets weird, So that's the thing. I want the best for everyone. So when people are like, eh, like they have the icky vibes, not just icky
Yeah.
vibes, but they just like it becomes just like I'm gonna fucking whoop your ass. Well, okay, well,
Prove it.
yeah, but here's the thing: an amateur fight here in California. We just had one in San Diego, Epic of Fighting down in San Diego. There was 27 fights on the card. So if everybody 27, right? And then that's 27 matches. That's double the amount of fighters. And if everybody's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna whoop your ass," well, after the third one, it gets old.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think on that same point, I think my favorite version of Conor McGregor was when he fought Cerrone, and he was actually very respectful towards him and paid him his dues. But yeah, I'm not really into that. I do like to get the fans entertained, but I think at one point when I was about to fight the Red Reaper, I was getting a little too much into that kind of press, thing, kind of being a different person for the interviews, for, whatever it is, just to get people interested in it. And I feel people kind of thought I was a little bit arrogant for that. So I kind of try to step away from that because in real life, it's not who I am whatsoever. And honestly, after talking a little trash to the guy, me and Red Reaper are really good friends, and he kicked my ass. So I mean, once he proved that to me, I really found some respect for him, and really just taught me the lesson, which I already knew but needed a reminder, just that always respect your opponent, never underestimate, never look down to them, because put yourself in their shoes at any point. The roles could change, and it's just it's good to have respect, especially coming from a more traditional like viewpoint. So I try to pay my respects to my opponents at all times.
Yeah, well, I kind of revert back to pro wrestling, right? Because if you say in a promo, "Hey, this guy or girl is trash," whatever. Well, how are you going to get people to watch, right? If you're already saying like it's a zero sum game. If you go like, "Oh, this person is trash," and you get beat, well, that means you're also trash, right? And then
Yeah.
it's kind of cannibalistic in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely a self contradiction there. I really, you got to respect everybody who steps in the cage or steps into competition. It is so hard, let alone to fight people. Not to mention stepping in front of a bunch of people, a big audience. You're on a world platform or something like that, and the simplest mistake, you could be on the losing end. So definitely got to respect people. That's something I learned in jiu-jitsu quite early on, and just check my ego at the door, man. On the mats, in the ring, there is no ego. You can't have that.
Yeah, everybody, that's a common misconception about like, and some egos can still persist. You get some, even blue belts of all belt levels. So like, I'm gonna just like mollywop the shit out of whoever white belt that comes in, but then once they go up against a purple or brown or even a little bit more esteemed blue belt, and they're just tapping all, it's tap
Yeah.
city. It's Tap City.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I always liked when I started getting more into the MMA gym setting. I started finding that there's a lot more ego and stuff in that, because you don't spar, or at least spar as hard as you would in jujitsu. You don't spar as many times as frequently as you would in jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, you roll every day at the end of class, and MMA, there's just not time for that. So you're not really getting tested every day. You really got to prove yourself on the mats in jiu-jitsu. And I'm thinking about going back to get into a more traditional just jiu-jitsu gym, just to kind of get that feel, to get the muscle memory, the drilling, all that. Because my last fight, man, I was in a position like when I got submitted that normally, like back when I was just competing in jiu-jitsu, I would have rolled right out of that, and just the reaction was not there when I felt the choke come. So
No, and it's I gotta ask because getting back into traditional jiu-jitsu, right? Having fought on a fight to win, and also doing competitive sambo, right? So, what is the goal? What is the goal? Is it to be kind of a consummate mixed martial artist to compete in every facet? Are we gonna see you do Lethwei pretty soon, or maybe a Muay Thai bout? Like, what is the end goal?
yeah, man. The end goal at one point was a little lost for me. It's something that I really come to terms with and really found in my recent training, in my recent competition. I just want to, continue with my martial arts journey, this spiritual journey that I'm on, and become the best person I can be at the end of it. So whether that means becoming a UFC champion, or if that means getting into maybe pro boxing, or shit, get me in the WWE, dude. that always, when I was younger, that was the ultimate goal. So I feel like that's the mecca of combat sports, is to be able to retire and get into a ladder match or something like that.
Yo, I mean, you're not wrong, right? I mean, Ali was at the first Mania. We had, Floyd Mayweather as well as Tyson Fury, in the last year. Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, as well as Cain Velasquez, all kind of made
Yeah.
the jump to varying degrees of success. I mean, King Mo and Filthy Tom Lawler are kind of always in the mix on the indies scene, So it's just like, yeah, it ends up being, if you do it right now, you there are pro wrestlers that aren't as dynamic, right, and there are also fighters that might not have the verbiage, right, that or the love for pro wrestling to succeed. So it's not saying like everybody that competes in MMA and boxing can jump over to WWE and get pay dirt. It doesn't necessarily happen for everyone. But we're talking about rarefied air, and even before the names that I mentioned, I mean, we're talking about Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, Boss Rutan. My goodness, what was Pancrase back in Japan? It was created by Funaki and God, I forgot the gentleman's name. And I have his Minoru Suzuki. That's it. I literally have a figure here, and I couldn't remember his name. I'm kind of glib, but yeah, Minoru Suzuki and Funaki basically created Pancrase, right? And that's where a lot of mixed martial artists, Hall of Famers, cut their teeth.
Oh yeah, man. I love those old pancrase.
Let's see. Seems like we have a bit of technical difficulties, but we'll get Zachariah O'Malley. We were just talking about the love for WWE and such, which I don't know if you guys can see, but I've got a Mean Gene Oakland, uh, a Brothers Gador wrestling buddy. Because hey, I mean, wrestling is kind of the reason why I started doing this, or even involved in combat sports, So, for those who don't know about Zachariah O'Malley, he is one who started out as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, but kind of moved in the space of backyard brawls, that type of thing, right? And then he just competed, as he has countless times before, in Fight to Win, which is a submission grappling event. It's if you like that WWE presentation with the lights and the sounds and the what have you. I mean, Fight to Win, amongst a lot of others. I mean, heck, tomorrow there's actually going to be one. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it is. It's going down in Hollywood. Why am I forgetting the name? I believe it's SOS. SOS. Submission only series. That's it. Submission only series. If you want big time, flashy jujitsu with a presentation that is just like badass, well, submission only series. You should check that out on Fight TV, as well as if you're in the LA area, come check it out. Doors open at 6 in Hollywood. But we've got Zachariah back. What's going on?
Sorry about that, man. I guess my phone overheated. It's a little hot out here in Arizona, so put some ice on that baby, and we're good to go. We're back on.
There it is. There it is. So you were talking about the aspirations of maybe into the UFC. Now, does that mean that you're probably kind of curtail a lot of your training and competitions towards MMA within the next year? Because things are starting to open back up. Even here in Southern California, we're starting to open up just a bit. Shows are happening again with fans. So what is the deal?
Yeah, I that is really like that's the base of what I'm going for. I did accept the Fight to Win fight. I do love Fight to Win. It'd always be in my base to compete in jiu-jitsu, but I love MMA. MMA is like my home now, and I'm in talks with some people about a Florida matchup. I'm going to be doing a rough MMA fight. That was where I did my first sanctioned fight a couple months ago. I'm going to be doing another one of those here August 29th. And then That's what I'm focused on. I wanted to hone in my striking the past few months, and that's really what I've been doing. I feel pretty confident on the feet now, and so I might step into the ring and get some boxing in or some kickboxing, Muay Thai, like you said. But definitely MMA is the goal, and not necessarily UFC, possibly one championship or is it Bellator or something like that, but definitely something at the top ranks of the sport.
Now, one thing that I want to ask, because we just saw it with Cub Swanson not too long ago, right? Within the last year or two, right? Where he did, quintet, Kazushi Sakuraba's, kind of, what was it, a 5-on-5 team
Yeah.
sport. And then he ended up getting, like, injured that literally curtailed 2 years out of his career. Does is that something that kind of comes into play when you are deciding to kind of sample these different martial arts styles and competitions?
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure I'm prepared before I enter any kind of competition. Like you said, the simplest injury can take you out for the rest of your life if you're not careful about it, if you don't treat it right. So definitely taking that into consideration. If I'm not healthy, I'm not going to fight. My last rough MMA fight, I actually fractured my jaw on an illegal strike at the end of the fight. So that's how the fight ended. And as much as I wanted to continue the fight and just step in there, I couldn't bite down on my mouthpiece. So I definitely would not have been the safest decision to continue that fight. I had to stop and went to decision and I lost. But definitely got to think about your health first, especially if you want any kind of lengthy career at this sport.
No, 100%. And, for those thinking that, maybe, oh, not doing MMA, but I'll take a boxing fight or, I'll do Sambo or what have you, it's a completely different sport. I mean, I remember one of my friends who is, trained pretty highly, I believe might be a black belt under the 10 planet system, right? And he went and did a catch wrestling, tournament. And it was different because you in jiu-jitsu, especially 10th planet, you kind of fight off your back. That's where you get your strength. Well, catch wrestling, hey, that's a pin, and you end up losing, and you're basically facing specialists of that field, right?
Hmm.
Where you're just facing, if you're doing sambo, people that just do sambo all day, 8 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week. If you're doing jujitsu, same thing. Especially when you talk about these money tournaments, like submission only series that's happening tomorrow in Hollywood. There's fight to win. A lot of these top level competitions, right? Again, a lot of the people to get these super fights, well, they're training and have competed in the IBJJF for the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation and all of these stuff. They've competed and built a name for themselves to the extent where, again, people are going to want to see them compete and buy a flow grappling stream or a fight TV stream to watch them grapple and do their thing, right? And again, kind of going back to what we were talking about before about like the traditional martial arts versus the entertainment. It's just like that's where the rubber meets the road, where it is entertainment. Like you're not, nobody's forking down $20, to watch people be consummate martial artists. We want some, Puerto Rican slap boxing, as Renato Lalonde used to say.
Yeah, that's the thing about I built a pretty good local fan base here, and a lot of people want to watch me, and I try to take every opportunity I can. But when you're stepping in there, and like, say, if I were to go into a boxing match against an amateur who has 10 plus fights or something like that, that is a completely different story. That person gets to work nothing but their hands. They're a
Mm-hmm.
specialist. That's an area where I'm definitely going to be the underdog, but if I'm setting up for something like that, or if I'm planning on doing something like that, then I'm going to take the time to work with coaches and experts that really know what they're talking about and get myself prepared and always take their advice into consideration. If they don't think I'm ready or they think I'm going to get hurt, then maybe it's time to rethink things.
No, 1,000%, 1,000%. And when you know, those are where theoretical losses on paper are actually wins because you learn more from losses. Because if you win, hey, you don't necessarily have to go back to the drawing board and what have you. But a loss, you're gonna analyze. It'll haunt you to an extent, right? Of all of the minuscule mistakes that you made and whatever. And if you were to capitalize on that, and even your opponent's mistake, if you had to capitalize on that, hey, you'd be in the win column versus on the other, right? So that's the thing.
Yeah, that's also with the goal being just to become the most complete martial artist I can be. That's one of the things that I love about it is uh, that you're always going back to the drawing board on the loss. You know, you're always learning something, and sometimes I value my losses more than my wins, just because I'm really gaining that experience. I'm gaining that knowledge, and afterwards, I'm gaining, that fixing that mistake and coming back from that, and that's really what's completing like this whole thing, like really making you better, rather than just if I were competing at a lower level MMA competition and just killing everybody and just hanging out, being the champion. And what kind of champion am I really if I'm not learning? You know?
Aljamain Sterling. I feel that's for the UFC bantamweight champion. That's directly related to that guy. I mean, what? Um, no, but you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of people. You remember we were talking about ego before, right? And so, you know, a lot of people are content being, a big fish in a small pond, right? Like they can spank everybody in the gym, right? But when the bright lights of a whether it be a jiu-jitsu competition or a fight of some sort, that's when they freeze up and whatever. But then, the Monday after the fight, they're back to assuming that they're not injured, they're back to tearing everybody apart or fighting on promotions where they know, hey, they might have picked somebody out of the crowd to fight.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we'll comp your ticket and you get beers if you step in to fight this animal that his opponent dropped out. Like
Yeah, it's a lot of I see that a lot on the in the smokers promotions on the lower level on the like the street beefs and stuff like that. You see guys who maybe didn't have the best record in actual amateur MMA, but they got all this experience and they come in and they're champions, but they dropped out of being in competition with somebody so much higher level. And I don't respect that, man. I don't think that's cool. If you're not trying to get better every day, then you're just stagnant. You're not living life how you should. You're not living life to the fullest, man. And I think that's what it's all about, really.
absolutely. You're echoing the sentiments that I literally before we started the stream, a conversation that I was having with my 13-year-old, and he's just like, "I want to play video game all day," and I'm like, "Yeah, but there's a whole world around you, and if you're not kind of increasing your footprint, so to speak, in that world just beyond this screen." Then you know what? The world's gonna pass you by, and you're not gonna have me or your mom or anyone else to kind of look back and go like, ah, damn, they did it. No, no, no. You got to take some responsibility here. It's all you.
Yeah, that's a thing too. A lot of people get locked into this like social media world, this technological world that we have nowadays, and they forget to really, smell the roses. Stop, smell the roses, and appreciate everything for what it is. Appreciate every loss, every bad experience, every good experience, every win. Man, and I think that those people are really missing out on something that other people might be enjoying.
100%. Now, I love that ideology about, just incremental steps of being better every day. So, like, how do you gauge? Well, first off, what are some of the things that you do to incrementally, if just incrementally, improving yourself and your understanding of your abilities? And then also, what are some ways that you could track how well you've done?
Well, the first thing comes to competition. Competition is the best gauge of where you're at, how far you've come, and how far you need to go. So I try to compete as much as I can in everything that I can. So individually, like I said, I'll train specifically, maybe striking, maybe wrestling, whatever it is at the time, and then go to a competition and see how I do, see what I need to work on, and then follow it up. You got to compete again. You got to run it back, find somebody else to run it with, and just really gauge yourself that way. And other than that, I like to spread my training around. I don't work with a specific team like all the time. I'll switch from a couple different gyms, switch back and forth. I'll go back to somebody I used to train with, and that's something that I found is really, really important. I feel like in the past few months, I've learned a lot, but in some cases, I've kind of taken a couple steps back, which I need to learn how to just combine everything I've learned and just accentuate my strengths and fix my mistakes. That's how I do it.
No, 100%. And that's kind of, as we kind of evolve, right, and grow, not just as people, but definitely in this kind of fight game, right? Like even me. Like I was like, man, if I could get to ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, yeah, man. Well, guess what? It's a hell of a lot more fun just doing it on your own. Like picking your own spots, interviewing whoever you want to do it, not really have to worry about too much. You got a couple sponsors and what have you, and it's easy breezy, right? And am I different than who I was when I started this? A little bit. But I mean, also as you kind of get into it, you think you see things change, right? And we are ever evolving society, and we're kind of smack dab in the middle of it, right? So we're like you were saying, you want to be the most complete mixed martial artist that you can be, right? Well, that could also mean not necessarily making a living at fighting, right? We had Dana White tell Curtis Blades when he was all up in the air with Brock Lesnar pushing DC after DC had beat Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, and he's like, "Well, I'm a consummate mixed martial artist," and guess what? Dana White straight out told him, it was like, Blades, like, cool, bro. You're gonna be teaching judo in some strip mall, being a consummate martial artist. We're here to sell tickets, right? And you're not doing it for it. And over and over, he's getting leapfrog. Hey, there's a interim title fight because they can't get the contractual deal with Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight champion. Well, guess what? Curtis Blades is not one of the two that are even in the interim title. So again, that just kind of shows you, So at this point, because obviously everything could change, is being the consummate mixed martial artist, at the pantheon of where you want to go, or is it maybe cashing in a big payday? And sometimes you can do both. Hey, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, they're doing amazing in terms of viewing, in terms of notoriety. In many ways, they're almost like UFC circa 93, 94, right? Would you be open to doing something like that, or is it just MMA? Would you turn down a big paycheck or big money fight just to do another martial art that might not pay you as much? Like, how do you kind of gauge it?
I've actually been talking to some of the people from Bare Knuckle lately, trying to get a spot on one of their cards. I've got a few acquaintances that already have signed contracts with them. Definitely something I'm interested in. I like the not wearing the gloves turns it into a whole different ball game. So as we've seen dominant boxing champions get beat up in that sport by people who have almost a fraction of the experience that they did have. So that's definitely something I'm interested in. I'm definitely not going to shy away from a big payday. That would be very rewarding. Something that I'm a lot of times I've had times where I'm trying to make ends meet, man, just trying to make things work and working odd jobs, doing this,
Yeah.
doing that, just to be able to eat at night. So you definitely you got to pay your bills, man. You got to do whatever it takes, but at that same time, you got to keep your integrity and I think it's something that I've been able to juggle pretty well, and something that I'll continue to deal with. But yeah, man, I would love to fight for bare knuckle if that's the question. I'm talking to Nathan Shook. He's one of
Yeah.
the matchmakers for
Hmm.
them, and hopefully I can get him talked into it. He wants me to do one of those tryout things. I don't
Yeah.
really want to do that, but I might do it as soon as if they were coming to Arizona anytime soon. I would definitely be jumping on that, but we'll see what opportunities present themselves.
No, man. So they had, and I was thinking about going, but I had my uncle pass away, so that kind of just threw everything out of the loop. But up in upstate New York at the Bare Knuckle Hall of Fame, Scott Burt put on not only the Hall of Fame award ceremony, but there was an open tryout during that weekend, and I see. Here's the deal. I dig the opportunities that and the treatment of fighters, right? Like that's paramount to me, right? And sometimes getting to the UFC doesn't mean you're the best treated fighter, right? I mean, we've seen it in the instance of Tyron Woodley and a lot of other champions. Heck, the fact that Francis Ngannou is not, defending his title, there's an interim title fight. This tells you that skirmishes happen. Look at John Jones. Like, if John Jones can't, get the payday that he feels he deserves, then what good is it for anyone else, right? But by all intents and purposes, right? Bare knuckle, BKFC, and then BYB. There's a couple feeder promotions. Like, if that's what you want to do, it's great. You're treated well. Like, you're treated well, right? And when you're looking at, UFC, right? I want to be a UFC fighter. Like I was saying, plans change. Well, if Bellator will kind of pay you more money, or bare knuckle will pay you more money and treat you better and continue to bring you back, if you show yourself, that's a lot better opportunity. Heck, we had, former LFA flyweight champion Jimmy the Brick Flick, who, basically, we want to talk about Vince McMahon, brass rings. Well, guess what? He basically did the Dana White brass rings. He won an LFA title, right? He went on Contender Series. 30-second submission, something like that, right? Something crazy. Won like one or two straight fights in the UFC, and then saw it and was like, I'm just a number here. I'm just a number. And he retired. This is a guy that literally could have been a champion, or at least a title contender, within a year or two, and got there and was like, I'm good. I'm retired.
Yeah, you definitely have to value yourself, man. Know your worth, and it's a big thing. Keeping your integrity, keeping your self-respect, not selling yourself for the dollar or whatever it is. Even in that case, the UFC, they don't necessarily pay the most out of all these different promotions. So, yeah, you definitely gotta pick and choose your battle, or pick and choose your opportunities, and figure out what's best for you. I mean, if the UFC is something in your mind that symbolizes, the top echelon of the fight game, then maybe that's something you're after. But for me, Bellator, One Championship, UFC, they're all synonymous as far as that goes. All as far as symbolism for being one of the greats. A lot of times you see, like, you saw Michael Chandler come over and he demolished. I forget who he fought.
The guy at the
Dan Hooker.
Yeah, Hangman.
Yeah,
Hangman, yeah.
totally demolished him. And Dan Hooker's a tough competitor in the UFC. He's taken out a lot of good guys, and kind of knew that would happen. And I was kind of surprised when Chandler actually lost himself. But you never know, man. There's beasts lurking, and street beefs and bare knuckle anywhere. There's some really, really great fighters. So it just depends on what opportunities they take, how they operate as far as their promotional side of things, and sometimes we don't even know some of the best fighters in the world. So
Yeah, 100%. And Johnny Parker says true talk. Johnny Parker, one of the board members and of Prime Athletics, one of the proud sponsors here, but also Johnny Parker went up to upstate New York and attended the BKFC open tryouts. So he was able to see that, and then was able to sign, a gentleman to his kind of fight roster, because Prime Athletics also takes care of the agent type stuff in boxing and MMA and bare knuckle boxing. So again, that's an opportunity. If you fly yourself out there, they flew themselves out there wanting to be bare knuckle roster members, and that did happen for some of them, right? But then also a chance for management, right? For somebody to do your bidding, to be able to talk to all of these promoters and command the best deal. Again, opportunities, right? When opportunity knocks, you got to take it. So
absolutely. And did you say that was Farm Athletics?
it's Prime
Wasn't
Prime
it
Athletics. Yeah,
Prime Athletics?
www.primeathletics.com is where you can get all the info, whether it be gear, whether it be, personal training, as well as if you're a fighter that wants to get represented by some of the most knowledgeable people in the sport, again, Prime Athletics is where you want to be.
Prime Athletics, definitely. Shout out to you guys. Hit me up after this. But yeah, man. I've looked into hiring, management, stuff like that, and I've found some issues with some contractual agreements and stuff like that. I had some people that I trust look stuff over, but I haven't had much success with getting someone on board like that. I've done a lot of my own managerial stuff myself, and I think to this point I haven't done too bad. But it's definitely a full-time job, absolutely.
No, 100%. And as he states, getting in the door is far easier with representation, which it absolutely is. I mean, uh, uh, during all the quarantine fights in the UFC, from July 2020 up until even, a couple months ago, right? There were only probably about two agents that were able to get their guys and girls, whether it be short notice fights or contender series fights or even out to Fight Island, right? If you weren't with Iridium or you weren't with Upgrade Marketing, guess what? You weren't in the UFC, no matter how good your record was. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen 17-4 with 13 straight knockout. Or I mean, 13 straight finishes, knockouts and submission, and not be in the UFC.
yeah, those the matchmakers get a lot of messages, man. So if you're not a name that sticks out to them, or if you don't really make an impression with them by your performance or your look or something like that, then you're not gonna get that call back. You're not gonna get a response. They're just gonna see you as one of the many people who are always in their DMs, and that's one of the reasons I try to, I got the green mohawk. I dress when I fight. My clothes are usually pretty. Flamboyant or outlandish, and that's something that I really try to make an impression on everybody I can. After my first Fight to Win fight, we won Fight of the Night. That was like 2 years ago. A lot of people knew me. We got on Flow Grappling, our highlights did, and it was a battle, man. We went to war, and I didn't come out on top, but uh, I made an impression, and that's really what helped. I got a few sponsors from that fight, and it was a great opportunity for me. Taking advantage of every aspect of this sport is definitely something that I try to make a priority. So
No, 1,000%. And as a bit of an asterisk, Johnny Parker says, let me restate that proper representation because there were some frauds out there. He would know better than I. And love your attitude, man. You got the right mindset. So, Johnny Parker, let's connect the dots, good sir. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Which
thanks.
so in terms of um, what gives you the greatest like satisfaction, because again, the life of the fighter isn't easy, right? You're trying to juggle some sort of living for yourself in addition to paying gym fees, in addition to the physical toll that you're putting on your body for not a lot of money, right? So what in your day to day kind of keeps you motivated, kind of keeps you you know uh, those small rewards along the way? What are some of those?
Yeah, definitely. One of the main things is the feeling when I fight. It's kind of an adrenaline junkie. So whenever I am able to make the walk, especially on a big stage, like Fight to Win is an incredible show. I don't know if you ever watched any of their shows, but it is crazy going out there. I've fought for some big MMA promotions, and I've seen some big MMA promotions, and nothing compares to Fight to Win. They really like, as far as the light shows, as far as the setup, the promotional, the media leading up to it. It's really outstanding. They do a great job, Seth Daniels and all the guys down there. But that's one of just the feeling, the just to know everyone's looking at you, just you're on stage. I competed in an MMA fight for Rough MMA, and that was at the Celebrity Theater out here. And it's a place where some of my favorite musicians have played. Like I met Ted Nugent backstage there. A lot of other people have played there as well. So just to know that I'm in the spot, in the location where a lot of people, a lot of greats in my eyes, whether that be fighters or artists or what have you, have been before, that's really something that I value and something that I hold true to my heart. Um, Other than that, my family, my friends, all my fans, everyone who supports me, everyone who tells me, after my last fight I lost, I still had several people come out of the crowd and say, "Hey, man, that was a hell of a show." So all of that just makes it worthwhile and helps me keep trucking.
No, 100%. And you mentioned the celebrity theater. I'd be remiss. I mean, to me, the first time that I saw that, and it's a cool for anybody that hasn't seen it. It's really cool. It's like kind of like a circular deal, and in the middle there's just a platform there. But the late great George Carlin. That's all of his pretty much a lot. I would say 90% of his HBO specials back in the day were at the Celebrity Theater, doing one better. One of my favorite kind of, after the Kings of the Comedy and what have you, but the Shaq All Star Comedy Jam, where they had like Kevin Hart, D. Ray Davis, Tommy Davidson, Cedric the Entertainer. And I mean, Tommy Davidson, from like the In Living Color days and what have you, but he did this bit about like Telemundo, and it's just one of my favorite bits of all time. So yeah, that was celebrity theater, man. And so the fact that you were there, I mean, talk about standing under the influence of giants. My goodness.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. It's definitely you're in good company when you're on a list of people who have performed in a place like that, man. And all in all, I'm an entertainer. I'm a martial artist, but I love entertaining people. It's always been my thing. I previously in high school, I was in a couple bands, shit like that. So just being on stage and giving people a show is something that I like to do. It's fun. I used to play basketball. I was pretty good in high school. So every night that I could come out with 20 points, 10 assists, or something like that, I felt great about myself. It's just a feeling of self accomplishment and just self worth, something like that. So.
No, absolutely. Now, you mentioned something that I didn't know about you. You played basketball. How was
Absolutely.
that? And did you have any, maybe agility kind of drills or the way that your body was conditioned that, ended up helping you, in your MMA, virtues?
Yeah, something I've noticed is a lot of ex-basketball players actually become mixed martial artists. Uh, the conditioning, there's no way you can get conditioning like that, dude. We'd have people from the wrestling team come over and try our circuit drills, stuff like our circuit workouts, and they wouldn't be able to last. They'd have to leave. They'd be throwing up. Like they wouldn't be able to hang with it. So, yeah, I'm definitely. I come, from an athletic background. As a sophomore, I shouted the backboard dunking in a practice. Totally like messed up the plans for games coming later that day or whatever. But that was something I was known for, was just being able to jump out of the gym. And I'm surprised actually. I've injured myself in fighting. I've blown out my hamstring, my every tendon in my left knee, and I can still get up there, man. I can still throw it down. So something I love to do. I played a pickup game after my fight to win fight. I went out and played a pickup game at a local rec center with a couple of guys, and I just killed it, man. I just killed it, and it was funny because I was wearing like my rash guard and my spats and stuff. So they're laughing at me when I walk in, and then I just totally do it on them, and I thought they were pretty impressed after I left. So it's a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of mindsets, right? You were talking about your mindset. Johnny was talking about your mindset, but sometimes that works. The fact that you could go into another sport and just go and do something incredible after not a lot of practice. It wasn't like you were doing those same drills that you did in high school after that fight to win, right? And to go back and go like, hey, I just did that in this sport that I am into now, and I can go into another sport and just kind of breeze through it. Now that might have been an outlier. That might have been, you know, like one out of a million, but it's still that confidence booster that you need because in a whether it be any striking disciplines like karate, kung fu, boxing, muay thai, whether it be grappling, sambo, jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, right? It's a game of inches, right? Like you're fine or you're dead. And talk about blowing out a hamstring. There have been a lot of people that got like a leg lock. I'm fine, and then now their damn ACL and PCL is completely out. They broke the hip and what have you. So to have that incremental kind of like like I could still fucking kick ass at basketball. Well, that's Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Confidence is a huge thing going into martial arts, going into anything really. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you could be the best in the world and seem like the worst in the world when you show out. But I think my one of my last fights was a real confidence builder. That last Sambo fight I had, I won by TKO, and it's really what they do there. It's sanctioned as a Sambo fight. It's sanctioned in Russia, but they come out here and it's basically just MMA. I won by TKO on that one with some ground and pound, and that was a huge confidence booster. Going into this last fight to win, I hadn't trained grappling whatsoever the last few months. I've just been doing striking solely. So I think it was that boost in confidence that really helped me perform as I did. I think I performed well. I got caught and I lost, but I still think that that fight was mine. That fight was mine to lose. I was controlling that whole bout. And I look forward to going back soon. I look forward to competing in MMA soon. I just look forward to getting out there and throwing the fuck down.
Hell yes. I can't wait. And so you're saying that rough MMA August potentially, right?
Yes, August 29th for Rough MMA. I'm in talks to compete in a Florida promotion. I'm going to be calling him after this interview. That's going to be in September. So a couple different things. I'm going to be doing some more of that Sambo for that Stroka promotion. And hopefully Fight to Win calls me back this week. I don't know if I'll get the call back, but I did talk to Seth after the fight, and he said he'll let me know if he needs me. So definitely I'll be out there. I'll be showing my face. I'll be there for you guys to watch. So look out.
That's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And again, you've I look at especially combat sports the same way that people in the inside of pro wrestling they look at right the bump card. There's only so many times that you can get slammed, right? On your back before your body says "fuck you, asshole, we're not doing this shit anymore," right? So with that being said, the same thing, right? And especially when you're doing, even combat sambo or jiu-jitsu, where you're separated from consciousness, or you get dropped on your head, or you get a errant knee somewhere, right? There's only so many hits to the noggin that you can potentially get before it all goes awry. So you want to make sure that every opportunity that you have within this 3 to 7 year window, if you're lucky, and if you're more than 7 years, man, it's incredible. But you want to make sure that you do everything in your power in that slight time window to make sure that hey, you create a brand, opportunity for the rest of your life. Is you could go and sell cars, right? You can go and sell real estate. Like, man, I remember Zachariah, so I'm gonna buy my house from him. I'm gonna whatever. Hell, you might have a podcast, you might have a vlog, you might whatever. Basically converting all your fans of fighting into whatever new venture that you end up doing, right? But again, you have 3 to 7 years if you're lucky, for your body just to kind of flush it out. And what you do with it and make it monetize for you, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, promoting yourself, building your brand, super super important. Something I've always kind of had a pretty firm grasp on, and something that I realized early on is that someday I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. So definitely get your fans while you can. Get that fan base, that audience that you can go on to whatever else, whether it's music, media, whatever it may be, and just have those people that still want to watch you because you're a badass back in the day. That's something that I definitely value and something I'm trying to build up. And I think I've been doing a good job with it. I've got like I'm evolving at a good pace. I think I'm getting better in the martial arts. I'm growing this fan base as I want to, and hopefully it culminates into something big, something UFC, whatever it is, and then afterwards I can just piggyback off of that and make a living out of whatever the hell I'm doing. So
No, 100%, 100%. I love it. Which you talked about, fans and cultivating, opportunities. Now, are there anybody, within combat sports now, past, present, or maybe people that you see coming up in the future that kind of have a kinship to that you might find inspiration behind? Are there fighters that you're looking at in terms of fight styles or anything? Are they just the way that they carry themselves that kind of go like, hey, man, one day I hopefully will be in the same conversation as them in the eyes of the fans.
I think everybody's answered this. Conor McGregor, obviously is bigger than the sport. He's become way bigger than the sport. He's really become a giant as far as just pop culture. I've always been a big fan of his, even when he was fighting in Russia or in Ireland. I've always followed his stuff. He's a big name in my eyes. Other than that, man, I used to love like shoot boxing. Wanderlei Silva was one of my favorite fighters back in the day, and he was just a mastermind, just a savage out there, dude, just scary. And actually, the first street fight I ever got in, I hadn't been training for that long, but I've been watching a ton of pride fights, just Silva soccer kicking people and rushing people with those like short hooks. And I actually took a page out of his book, my first street fight, where I really found myself scared for my life, honestly. And I beat the living shit out of this dude who was way bigger than me. And I just used that savagery, just flurries of punches, and just I did this guy up. So Silva's always been a big guy in my eyes. Both the Silvas, Wanderlei and Anderson, coming from completely different like points of view. Though one's just a savage, just a monster, and one's a technical beast. But yeah, those McGregor, the Silvas, those are some guys that I really hold in high value, like in my mind. So definitely some examples for me to follow and try to try to evolve what they've already done and make it my own.
No, 100%. I mean, and talk about cultivating the fan base, man. Anderson Silva just cashed in a big payday, fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., right? He is a literal legend in Brazil, right? And not just the MMA. Like, he's in commercials, he's in movies, he's on TV shows, man. Like, he did it. And again, oh man, Vanderlei. Again, I go like this. Just watching him,
Hell
you
yeah.
knew he was gonna fuck people up. And even in the later part of his career, you know about his nose, right?
No, no.
So he got his nose fucking bashed in, right? Like, by the
Yeah, I
time,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So he basically reconstructed his nose so he can breathe better to fuck people up more.
I did. You're right. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's a big thing, man. I actually broke my nose a few times. I did it more like when I was playing basketball and shit than when I actually like started fighting. But it's hard to breathe. For me, it's hard to breathe through my nose. I've got some swelling on one side. It's hard to see, but I definitely see it. Sometimes looking in the mirror. But I if you can't breathe through your nose and you're dropping your jaw a lot, opening your mouth a lot, that can be a huge reason why you're not winning fights or you're not able to keep your chin as your career goes on. So that's a big thing. I know on that same kind of note that the Diaz brothers got some experimental surgery on their eyes right here because they get those
Yeah.
cuts all the time. That's something that
Hmm.
you got a sharp bone right there. I get cut there all the fucking time. So
Wow.
yeah, I probably need some plastic surgery at the end of my career or something like that. But I think I'm pretty right now. I don't look too bad. Kept my
I
face, kept my looks.
Yeah, I do concur. I do concur, good sir.
Thank you, brother.
Which, yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. And it's so funny because, like, things that were kind of looked down upon, right? Pardon the pun, but thumb the nose at, right? Things like, CBD or psychedelics or, ice bath, cryotherapy, all of this stuff, right? Was just like, "Ugh, don't. And then now it's been proven, plastic surgery, right? It's been proven that it can help, especially when you start to hang up the gloves, the boots, right? And you have to continue your life as a regular human being. Well, you might have kids and you're chasing them around and you got a deviated septum and shit like that, and you can't run around with your kids, right? Your damn shoulders all out of whack and whatever. You can't pick up your kids or play with your dog or whatever the fuck. So these are things that, again, I'm glad that we're bringing into these conversations now more than ever. I mean, hell, who doesn't, if you're a fighter, have a CBD sponsorship, right? I mean, you're right. So I'm glad that these restorative, methods are being talked about because, again, we look at like generation before the not so much Dan Severn, right? But like definitely Don Fry, definitely Jesus, Chuck Liddell, right? Those guys, if they have had it maybe during their career or like soon after, and some might benefit from it now, but some damage has already been done. But if they had it, would they have a better quality of life now? You know?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's super important. I watch Joe Rogan Experience a lot, and they actually had a scientist on there that had some way to like measure your cellular like mitochondrial telophase or some shit like that. It basically just tells how old you are. And they measured Joe Rogan's. He's actually like 10 or 15 years younger than like his actual age. So that's definitely something to take advantage of. Like we got all these different things, those deprivation tanks and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's definitely something to take advantage of for sure. I like that you bring up like psychedelics. I think that's something that's huge, and just like the mental aspect of it. Like you can get depressed, you can get like it's a
Yeah.
huge confidence roller coaster in this game in any kind of athletics. So from time to time, do a little mushrooms, whatever it is like that. Just
Yeah.
find yourself again and restore your neurons, your cognitive ability, as well as the physical body. All those injuries you're getting. So any kind of restorative treatment or therapy is great, and I concur with you. I think it's awesome that we have that stuff around nowadays, and that it's really coming more to the forefront rather than being like brushed under the rug or being something that's looked down upon. So
Yeah, totally taboo. And I'd be remiss not to bring up former flyweight. Well, he's one of the greatest flyweights of all time, Uncle Creepy Ian McCall, because he has been at the forefront of kind of figuring out what needs to happen. After you got to remember, he was teammates when I mean roommates with Shane Del Rosario when Del Rosario ended up passing away unexpectedly and unfortunately, right? So he saw this firsthand, and he was in similar states, plus getting bashed in the hand for the better part of a decade plus, right? So I mean, he was on Real Sports, over the last like 6 months, with Bryant Gumbel's team talking about it. It had people like Dean Lister, there with him and taking hero doses. And, like again, it works for a lot of people. And it's not just like people, I mean, in MMA, right? There's former, football players and hockey players, a lot of combat sports, but also military. My dad, he came back from he was stationed in Korea during Nam, and the stuff that he saw, didn't actually have physical whatever, but the mental and psychological stuff that stuck with him until the day he passed away, right? So by doing stuff like that to kind of rewire your brain, it's incredible.
yeah, it's really awesome to have that stuff around. And anything you mentioned, Don Fry, he actually had a pretty like this, I mean, upsetting episode where he tried to kill himself via police officer. And fortunately, the cops out here, because he's from Arizona, I believe, and the cops
Yeah.
out here actually they knew him, and they're like, oh, calm the fuck down, we're not going to do this, and they handled it the right way. And it's just sad seeing like the damage, done after, a career of, you're both in a single collar clinch and you're pounding each other like he did with that fella, and I think it was
Takayama.
Pride. Yeah, that was
Takayama.
savage. Yeah, that was a brutal fight, but it's great to watch. It's fun to watch, but the aftermath, that person has to live with it their whole life while we just get a show for one night. So definitely got to take care of your body, take care of your mind, everything like that.
No, 1,000%. But Zachariah, obviously, there's been a lot of people that have helped you, not just in your career, but your life up to this point. So take as long as you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way, my man.
Yeah, man. Thanks to my family, my girl, Julia Morrison. Thanks to, my brothers, my mom. Uh, Thanks to all my sponsors, Company 21, Jiu Jitsu Geese, Z Nation Signature Geese, Tucson Gold Teeth, Unique Crafts by Eve. We got Fuller Broadcast. Thank you guys. Let's see. We got Vivian's Wax Melts. Thank you. AJI Sporting Goods. You guys helped me out so much. Um, Other than that, I think that's it as far as sponsors. Thanks to my coaches at Dragon Snake, my coaches at Faction Combatives in Mesa, and Coach Maston. Thank you showing out for my last fight. Ricardo Jimenez, thanks for showing out for me. See, I think that's about it. All my teammates that I train with for all my Street Beefs guys, everybody there, Anthony Vera, Eddie Gonzalez, Prince KT. Think that's about it, man. I think that's about it. So thank you all you guys. I appreciate everything you've done for me, all the support. Thank you to all my fans. Thank you to everybody who's, had me on the podcast, give me an opportunity to get my name out there. Thank you, brother. And that's about it, bro.
The pleasure is all mine. And for those who want to get better acquainted with Zachariah O'Malley on the interwebs, in the media of the social, where can they do that?
I'm on Facebook, Zachariah O'Malley. I'm on Instagram, Psychedelic, Zachariah O'Malley. And other than that, I think that's about it. I got a Twitter, but I don't really get on it that much. Check me out on YouTube, same name. So yeah, check me out on there. Hit me up, DM me. I offer personal training. If anybody is interested in any of that, I can go over any kind of martial arts stuff you want to learn, or any kind of physical fitness stuff you need to get taken care of. I'm an ISSA certified personal trainer. I'm certified in TRX. So anything you guys need as far as that. Other than that, hit me up, tell me you love watching me fight, and or talk shit to me, whatever. I enjoy it all, so give me some attention.
Hey, why not? Right? It's just a little bit of attention. But thank you, Zachariah, for giving the attention here to this podcast, gracing it with your presence. And thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Zachariah, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Absolutely, of course.
Hell yes. So if you don't believe me or Zachariah, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang to help convince you.
Hey, this is